Hi, I'm Natasha.
And I'm Penny.
And today we are talking to the amazing Paula Day. Penny, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. So Paula, business coach, business expert, helping with beauty, specifically around salons. You've had an incredible career and we are just thrilled to have you on today. So welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So Paula, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, because I didn't just, land here doing what I do.
No one does, unfortunately. I wish.
But yeah, I started off in the corporate world, so as an accountant by trade, and I climbed that corporate ladder really, really fast for two reasons, really. There was a massive push towards supporting women in leadership at the time. And so
Unreal.
there was just so many programs and mentorships, and so I ended up leading teams by the age of 26.
Wow.
And then I had my first son, and he had a couple of disabilities. So I also had that on my shoulders of, right, I've got to earn. Well, I decided to earn for the family so that he could have everything that he needed. So I climbed that corporate ladder really fast, and I got to everything that I wanted. I had that corner office. I had the big team. I had I had a great job, and I was out, sitting there looking over the city and then looking at the photo of my kids who I just never saw.
Right.
And I thought, look, if I continue, I'll never see them. So it's like either be stuck or do something else. And I actually launched my T-shirt business first.
Okay, tell us about that.
Completely
That's
left
awesome.
field.
Was it like a side hustle that you?
It was a side hustle. I listened to a podcast similar to what you both do, and they had a guest on, and that guest just described what they did, and it was to run a T-shirt business on Amazon. And I actually just followed. I just took action. I took action on everything. I listened to it a few times, and I built my own T-shirt business. And within, I think, 2 to 3 months, I was making more money in my sleep than I was in my corporate job. So I was like,
That's
okay,
amazing.
I'm going to.
It's so funny because you hear, I don't know, I feel like you hear all these stories of dropshipping and it always does sound too good to be true, but it's unreal because you've done it.
Yes.
So you know.
Like, when did it take off? Like, was it something that was like pretty quick for you?
It was so quick. And I think it's because I just didn't know any better. Like, I wasn't a designer. I'm not very creative. I'm, accountant by trade. So I really had to learn Photoshop. Like, I was on YouTube learning it. I didn't know how to do anything. And my designs were very, very average, very basic, but it was just slogans on a T-shirt. And I just followed the steps and got them up on Amazon. And, it was all about then the descriptions. And I remember waking up that morning going, oh my God, my T-shirt's on like the top 10 pages of Amazon. And that's when things just started to take off. And it was just so quick. But that wasn't to be because what I didn't see coming was a relationship breakup.
Okay.
And unfortunately, and look, if there's anyone out there who has a business and it's not in their name, put it in your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I set that Amazon business up. We needed an Amazon account and I didn't have one, but my husband did. And I thought, I'll just pop it in his name. And I didn't get that business in the end. So,
Oh my God.
so I was forced to come back to reevaluate everything again. So 7 months I spent sort of trying to get myself back together, my life back together after the breakup. I left with nothing. So, my bank account was cleared out, just everything. So, and I lost the business and I thought, great, well, the only thing I've got is this corporate job. And, everyone around me saying, just sit pretty, but I couldn't. Like, I just felt like there was something else.
It's like I got to scratch this itch, yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, what do I have? Or I've got leadership, I've got coaching because they'd put me through so much coaching and leadership. So what can I do? I've done hundreds and probably thousands by that stage of business plans and, forecasting cash flows and things like that. So I'd helped $1 billion and $1 million projects mainly. And so I had all those skills and I took them and I went out on my own.
That's incredible. Because I really feel like, at that point in your career where you have that level of being set up and feeling like you have a level of certainty, and for that to be able to, I guess, the rug to be pulled out from under you and feeling like you have to kind of build and start again. I think it's really admirable that you were able to kind of look inwardly and say, well, these things that I've learned, these things that the corporate career has given me are actually my own skills, my own IP now, and being able to transform that into a business. That's amazing advice for women at any age. And I think that it's something that we maybe potentially take for granted sometimes, where we've been taught things, we've been given these skills by our corporate careers, and being able to be introduced to, I guess, financial training, or to be able to know how to forecast, or to even come up with a business plan. And you looked at that and said, okay, well, hey, this isn't, an end point for me. This is an exit strategy. It's really cool.
Yeah. So true.
So tell me, what happens next for you in the story?
Okay. So, it didn't happen straight away. So I had to run that on the side again to build it up. But it did happen quite quick, and it happened during the pandemic. So,
oh, wow. So this was all during oh my goodness. I feel like it's kind of like all these kind of challenges, setbacks that just keep happening, but you're finding opportunity in every single one, which is really cool as well.
Yes. I had to I had to find the opportunity for sure, because I just sort of met my new partner at that stage, and we were about to go into lockdown. So we had to make this decision. Do we move in together or do we not? And we were sort of about 40 minutes apart. So there was no way we were going to be able to see each other if we didn't move in together.
Yeah.
And so we quickly, changed kids' schools. We moved in together, and I found myself like homeschooling 5 kids.
Oh, you're like, okay, now I've got to be a teacher. I've got to do my side hustle, keep a new relationship going,
and run still have that that quite high up leadership role, which was in a government department. So it was like, oh my gosh. But I just had to get up and just be appreciative every single day, and just utilize what I could, and utilize the time that I could, and look, ask for help. Like, I had to ask my family for help. The kids are on board. Like, they are team family. They know that if mum wins, we all win. So they were really super supportive. I didn't sort of think that I had to do everything like I used to. I had to shift, and I had to ask for support from them, and I had to ask for support. I had to get myself a personal assistant. She's been with me for a really long time now, and just outsource all those little things that I'm not good at or I didn't have time to do.
Yeah. At what point did you in your career, because I think that's an important question I get from a lot of people that are scaling their business or starting to scale their business. At what point did you make that plunge to hire somebody else? Because when you're in the position that you're in, you've got a family to feed, it's every dollar counts. So then taking that plunge to then hire somebody else and take that money that you could be putting towards, which overall makes complete business sense. Yes. But as to what's going through your brain at that time, when do you know when the right time, or did you know when the right time to do that was?
Yes. I think that's a huge thing, especially when, sometimes we don't feel like we can let go of those tasks as well. Like, we feel like we have to do them. But it was a series of making everything as quick and easy as possible. And then, I was utilizing my older sons pretty much helping me in the business anyway. And so often they'd be sitting next to me with another computer and another computer doing, I'm like, you just do this, you do this. And it just got to the point where I was like, right, I'm going to start hiring someone. And look, at over my career, I've hired lots of people, so I'd already had that experience. But I get it. Like, it's not an easy thing to let go of some of these tasks. And I just hired someone at the start for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And so, it's not a full-time role. It was just a little investment. And then to build them up over time with their skill set, to get to know me, to see if it was going to even work.
Yeah.
And, that first person she still contacts me. She still sends me, little updates. We don't work together anymore because I needed someone who could work full time with me.
Yeah. It transitioned into a point. Yeah. I like that. So start small versus just going. It's not like you have to straight away put the full wage up for a new person.
Yeah.
It's just about small steps.
Yeah, because it can be scary at the start to kind of know when the right time to make that investment is in yourself or in your business, because at one point you're bootstrapping it and your time is your time. And as much as time is money, you're not having to have that worry of, okay, I physically have to part with this cash to be able to kind of grow. But I think it does get to that natural tipping point where you start to think, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to get to the next level. So
exactly.
What did that next level transition look like though? You get the assistant, you have the help, and then how did things start to change for you during that kind of COVID time and that craziness? You're homeschooling, you're doing everything.
Yeah. I think it really took off when I ran my first group program. Like I decided to run my first group program and I thought, oh yeah, I'll kick this off. And I didn't expect to do so well. Like I didn't expect it to take off that quickly. But it took off so quickly that I had to actually hire a sales person to work on sales with me because I just couldn't take all the sales calls that I was getting and coach and do everything else. So I had to adapt very quickly to the growth of my business. And I didn't expect it to take off that well or that quickly. And so then I had to, develop the program. I'd sold the program and I hadn't even run it yet. I hadn't even written it yet. So
I know what it looks like.
Yeah. I've got an outline. I know where we're going for, and I had to run that first group through. They knew that they were coming through as my first group.
Okay.
They knew it was a pilot program, and that took off. And I guess I've done many more since.
That's incredible. How did you? I guess it took off the first time, which is amazing. But how did you? I guess put yourself out there and kind of get that initial exposure? Was it all through your existing clients and your network?
No, because it wasn't the same network, right? Because when you come from a corporate space, most of your friends are still in corporate and they're not, they're not really doing something different. So I had to find different people, and the way I did that is I just started showing up online. So I built it. I have used some paid advertising more recently, but in the beginning, definitely built it all organically online. It was just all on Facebook to start off with, and it was just showing up and showing up and showing up, and building that community, building my content out, and just starting conversations with people and building my Facebook group. Yeah.
So incredible the power that organic social media still has, because I understand, I respect that a lot of the times it's not the power that it necessarily had 5 years ago or 6 years ago, when Instagram was so powerful for small creators and small brands, but it is still such a powerful tool that I think a lot of people kind of I for one, I can put my hand up, and that's not a space that I'm confident in, and it's a really hard space to enter because with paid ads, you can see your return on ads. It's a bit more, data driven. You can see I've spent this, I get this, I do this, I do this. And I think it's quite an interesting one because organic, you've just got to trust the process.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, and make sure that you're doing the right thing, getting the right quality content and putting it out there. But it's lovely to hear another success story from just organic content because, I'm hearing less of them as they were, I think it was back 2017 to 19 when that was like the influx of Instagram businesses that did incredible during that time. And as they should, they capitalized on an opportunity. But Facebook still to this day, even with the forums and everything, it's huge.
It's a great place to build community and to be able to have that dialogue, the back and forth conversation versus, I guess, maybe talking at people. And I feel like that must have been a pivotal point in your business to be able to go and have a space for women to kind of congregate and for business like leaders to be able to kind of talk to one another and figure things out as a community.
Yeah, ask questions and also just get to know each other and get to know more about me. And that's the key thing, to show up fully as yourself, not just, here's some content and here's how to, or here's, I'm just going to coach you, but like the snippets of the lifestyle, the snippets of, me being a mom. And I still just, even now I still reflect back and go, gosh, why would people want to look at this? But they do. They want to know. They want to know. And I think sometimes, saying to my coach yesterday, my life's a bit boring at the moment. You know, I'm at home with the kids a lot. And she's like, but people love that. What about all the people out there who don't have kids or want the relationship that you want? It's so true.
Yeah, or want to,
so true.
or have to juggle the things you juggle, and they feel like they're alone. Because I think social media sometimes is the highlight reel. You know, you see the most beautiful things, but people want to see more and more real things. They want to see you, you know, with the laundry not done and you having to do a business meeting and all of these things, because that's your life. And if you can do it, it kind of inspires somebody who's looking at it being like, oh, maybe I can.
Exactly.
You know, maybe I can have different parts of it, and maybe I have to leave this one day and do this the other day.
I think it's a real push for authenticity, and I suppose that's I guess the crux of what coaching is. You're telling them about the good, the bad, the ugly parts of business, and also your personal life as well as your professional life. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like for you, like on a day-to-day basis, talking about real life. Like what is a day in the life of Paula?
So generally the kids are looking after a fair bit of like the morning stuff. So I'll get up, I'll wake them up, I'll go to the gym, and I'll be back in time to take my youngest to school. Everyone else can get themselves to school.
Yep.
So I've got a couple more years of me driving her to school, and then she's at high school. She can do it on her own, which is fantastic. So I go to the gym, I come back, I take her to school, I come back and I start my day. So whether that's doing content or doing coaching or you know, looking at my numbers or putting together a business plan for someone, or just doing bits and pieces like this podcast, anything that I'm doing around the business. But generally I'll be done by around 2:30 or 3, and then I'll go pick her up from school, and I'm done for the day. I often forget to make dinner or put something down. My partner's really cool with this. Often he drives past his mum's and picks something up.
I love it. Good.
Or he picks something up. He's like, I knew you forgot it today. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm just one of those people who will forget things like that. And the family knows it, and they're all okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you prioritize, like what you said before, I think is really important. Like you prioritize yourself and because so you can be the best person for your family. Like I love the fact that you prioritize things like the gym in the morning and you make sure that's a part of it, because I think sometimes these little things that you do for yourself, you can look at it and be like, oh, but you know, do you have time? But giving back to yourself by going to the gym and then ensuring that you've set up your day so that it's productive and you're in your, you know, you're doing things for yourself, for your business, so that your family life's better. So you feel better. Yeah, okay, some dinner's not done. Oh, well.
They'll live. No one's going to starve. There's McDonald's. You'll be fine.
Got Uber Eats. It's fine. I think that's really cool. One thing that you mentioned earlier as well that I wanted to ask, you said you're a coach. So you, I'm assuming, practice what you preach, and you've got a coach as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I have a couple of coaching groups that I'm a part of.
Okay.
I've always done that. I've always invested in myself, in lots of different coaches along the way, and it's just, you know, leveled up, I suppose, the investment or what I've needed at the time. So, you know, I spent a long time just in like sales coaching. I spent 2 years with some of the best sales coaches. You know, early on I had a business coach just for my T-shirt business, and then I had a coach for this business to help me set this up, because otherwise I was lost. I was like, I don't know what to do. And nowadays I actually have I'm more of a spiritual coach as well. It's just to get my mindset right and all of that spiritual alignment and everything, which is just amazing. So I think it's so important to, like, if you're going out, or even if you're mid-journey and you haven't got the right coach, like to look for even a group or a coach, whatever you can invest in, like even if it's something small at that point, there's usually something for everyone out there, you know?
Yeah.
No, you're completely right. I just recently invested in a coach for content. We were just talking about then, because I know nothing about it. It's like the weakest spot of life for me. I'm so overwhelmed by all of it, and I found these people that are incredible online. They're just killing it in the game. They're so good. So I've recently started weekly coaching with them, and exactly like what you said, and that's why it really resonated, because I was like, it is that you practice what you preach. Like I coach as well, and you know, I fill a gap for people that are looking to grow in the e-commerce space, because I did it. So it's like, okay, well, we can help. But then I was like, when I was really lost and I was like, I really want to do this, it's like, how do I do it? I'm like, well, practice what you preach, right? Like you're out there telling people that they should get a coach when they need something to fill a gap. Practice what you preach. And that's why I really loved that you'd said that, because I think that's really signifies a strong coach when they're getting coaching for their gaps, because no one's going to know everything, and we've got to consistently learn and consistently grow our skills. That's the best way to do it. You make sure that you're talking to people that have done it. It's like a hack. It's like a life hack.
Yeah. And I'm like, you really do need to take your own advice in that space. And I think the same way like you would get a mentor for yourself. It's like you need to be able, if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be a manager, if you're going to run your own business, sometimes gap fill essentially. And be able to kind of grow yourself and level up quickly. And you're right, it absolutely is a life hack. And I suppose that's, a big part of why you do what you do in your business, but also why you're able to kind of have that person to be able to go and facilitate those pain points or those weaknesses if you do need that help from a business or a coaching or even from a spiritual perspective, like what you were talking to before. I think that's a really clever way of getting through life, honestly.
Yeah. So with your coaching at the moment, so you spoke to at the beginning the beauty coach. So speak to me about what coaching that you do, the different types, and how you got into them as well.
Okay, so I didn't start off as a beauty coach at all.
Okay.
I started off, when I first started, I was actually a dating coach. So
Oh, really? That's fun. Oh my God, that's like a dream role. I'd love that.
And it wasn't it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't my dream role. I started there because I got a coach, and my coach said to me, look, you're going to have to pick a niche, and he pretty much helped me pick that niche. He's like, look, you've got the look, you've got this, you've got that, you can do that. I'm like, okay, all right, let's just run with it. So I did. I ran with it. I did it for a little bit, and then I was like, as soon as I could, I was back to business.
This is okay. I don't know how to coach you through this one.
Yeah, I was just, it felt hard. It felt sticky. So I think if you've found something, and it's not feeling like it's easy for you, even though I got some great results, and I still have people who went through that program that I still have online, who are getting married and send it to me and say, hey, Paula, look, just letting you know that we're getting married now. It was 2 this month. It was just,
that's incredible.
It's so,
that's lovely. That brings back, that fills up your cup in a different way. That's a really beautiful thing to do. Yeah.
And that taught me so many things about relationships, and it taught me to be present in my relationship too, which was amazing, because I had to work on myself to make sure I was bringing that to the table. But then obviously I switched into business, and that's where my heart is. That's where it's easy for me. And I just couldn't believe that every day people were paying me for doing this. But because I'd done it for the last 18 years before that, it just feels natural what I do. But I'm not sort of at the beginning of business with people. So generally when people come to me, they've made at least a meal plus. Mm-hmm. So they're usually a small business, and they're looking to become a medium business, that sort of thing. They've got a team, they've got a location, they've got things in place. So we're not really working on, the beginnings of marketing or sales or anything like that. Although I do have skill set in there, it's not my main skill set. My main skill set is working with them, to understand their finances, to understand their cash, to make sure that they're making the right decisions. When can they bring on that next team member? Do they want to double the team? Do they want to get a new location? Where's the growth happening in the business, and how to get there? And also to draw in a really good income from their business. There's so many business owners who come to me, and they've been in business for 7 years, even sometimes 11 years, and they're paying everyone else first, and they're paying all the bills, and they're wanting to grow the business, and they've got this passion they're putting into it, but it's not paying them well enough. Yeah. They're not actually getting to take. And so they're getting a little disheartened. I spoke to a beautiful woman the other day, and she actually ended up giving up, and she had a great concept, but she couldn't charge enough. She wasn't charging enough, to take a good income for herself. So just didn't see a pathway forward.
Wow, yeah. Which is hard. That's difficult in itself. I can completely understand what that feels like. That's why when you were kind of speaking about your story before, I thought one of the like the biggest takeaways was the resilience. And I think sometimes you can get hit with so many things, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's emotionally, there's just things that are constantly going on. And there's so many times where I think all of us kind of a bit like, oh, I just want to give up. Like I just want to give up. This is too much. I just want to go away to a different country and just lock myself away. I just want to run away from all my problems, which I'm sure you probably do every day as well. Everyone has those thoughts, but I love that you took something negative and you made it into an action for positive. It was like, this is something that's happened that I can't control, whether it's with the job, whether it's pandemic or all the things that have happened. And you're like, nah, or with the t-shirt business, like that is a huge challenge and something that happened that was completely out of control that wasn't fair, right? And it's that the not fairness that you can get stuck into and you're like, well, this isn't fair. I'm going to be really upset about this. But I'm sure you had your moments, but you turned it into something so positive, which I think is super inspiring because that's something that, I think people need to hear about because everyone's going to come across something that's just not fair.
Yeah. And you do have that so much in your life and in your business. Like I think that the difficulty is a lot of people don't talk about that. They talk about, to your point before, the highlight reel, the things that are exciting and amazing in life. And I got there and X, Y, and Z happened to be able to get through it. But the setbacks are just as important as the wins and the successes.
So true. So true. I think if you haven't thought about giving up or you haven't had like that moment where you're on the floor going, oh, far out, like this, how can I get myself out of this? You haven't actually pushed yourself far enough forward in your journey yet. So keep going.
This is good. This is making me feel better about the times of like just rocking back and forth. Like, it's a lot to take.
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's because it's true. I think everyone, and we don't talk about it because you also want to have like that confident front at some points where you're like, everything's okay, because you don't want to worry people with your worries. So sometimes it's a bit like, oh, it's this chaos that goes in all of our minds when something big happens. But I think it's really important to share the fact that it does happen. It is normal, but there's also the other side of it, the other side that can be really positive, like what you've gone through.
Yeah.
So, Paula, as a coach, I guess what we usually like to ask our guests is like their top tips to be able to kind of progress in their career path and in their areas. But you're the coach, you're the expert, you're the one giving the advice to people. So what is, I guess, the best piece of advice that you feel like you repeat over and over again to your clients? Like what is that one thing that people, you feel like they really need to hear?
Yeah. I think it is around, most people that I coach, they're really time poor. They're really, really time poor. Like they've poured their heart and soul into their business. And, regardless of if it's a beauty business or you've got a different business, or even if you're pouring your heart and soul into your startup at the moment, sometimes we feel like we've got no time and we're just doing the things in the business over and over again. What I would encourage you to do is just to go, what's one thing today that I could take off that list? What's one thing today that I could take off that list and I could just go have coffee, or I could just go for a walk and I could actually think. Now, that thinking time is so valuable. If you can actually just switch off from your business and think about, bigger things, where you want to take it, where you want to take yourself as well, like what you want this business to bring you. That's going to inspire you, because if you're still staying stuck and you think you've got no time, you'll never, ever find the time. So what's one thing you can take off your list, give to someone else, or, and you might be like, oh, it's quicker to do it myself. It's just, it's a bit hard.
Yeah.
But, or what could I do today towards training someone and letting them know a little bit about that, so that tomorrow it's going to be a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
Or the next day it's going to be a bit easier for me. Because in the long run, if you could save yourself half an hour, you can save yourself 5 minutes, all those little bits of time are going to start to add up, and you're going to be able to start to switch to being that leader in your business and start to look at okay, all right, now I've got time to actually take in the numbers. I've got time to take in, what I'm earning. I've got time to take in what we need to grow this business. And that's, I guess, the number one tip I'd give.
I think that's such an important point. I think it's something you learn the longer you're in business or the longer you're in your career. The idea of delegation to some level and carving out, literally booking in that thinking time for yourself is so, so impactful and important to being able to scale and grow what you're doing, whether it's your career or your business or you're freelancing, like any kind of space like that. And I feel like, you know, that's a skill you definitely develop as you get older, but I think it's a great thing to be reminded of because it's not always easy to do that for yourself.
You need your thinking time. It's like some of the best ideas I think I've ever had is in the shower because I've got no access to anything else. So it's like you literally just there's no time. You just like it's that one time where you're just present. There's nothing else. There's no phone going off. There's nobody coming. You're just it's you time, and it's like if you can create more of that, where you just don't have to just hop in the shower to have it, and you can go for a coffee
20 times a day.
You can go for a coffee, and like what you said before, that makes complete sense. You can go for a coffee, and you can just reinvest in yourself because you're the most important thing in this situation, and the ideas that you bring to the table as well. Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's a coffee without your phone on, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
the hardest part.
Like to not, you know, just to be present with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I guess I don't really often do. Now that I'm really sitting there and thinking about it, like when do I sit there hands-free? Like just
do not disturb. Even you know, when I go to the gym, I find myself like having to put do not disturb on. Otherwise I end up stopping, replying to a message, going back and then doing that. And it's like you need that do not disturb time where you've got nobody messaging you, no one to, because otherwise you just keep getting distracted. You keep going back, going forth. I think that's really good. One thing we didn't touch on, sorry, how did you get into the beauty side?
Okay. So because I was working with so many different business owners, like my background in government was all transport and infrastructure. So I ended up with a lot of like bus companies and construction type work, like carpentry and plant businesses, just all different businesses. And so when it comes down to actually saying your message, as you were talking before, marketing and doing your message, it's really hard to refine, and it's also really hard to do a program around everyone when you're wanting to be everything. Mm-hmm. And so I had to narrow it down, and I had to focus on one particular industry, and it was very specific too. Like I was really thought about because I had a lot of experience in transport and things like that. But I know this is a podcast, a lot of you can't see what I look like, but we have
videos, don't worry, we're getting taped everywhere.
She looks gorgeous.
But it is, I had to think about, okay, well, look, I look like this, you know, what do people in the industries that I want to coach, what would they look up to? Who would they pay for? Who would they invest in? And if I'm going to be really honest, you know, I've played the corporate game for a really long time. I've coached a lot of different businesses. And although I've got a lot of, I've had a lot of success, when it comes down to it, I really do believe that there's still some, bias. You know,
absolutely,
in the industry, right? And in certain industries. So I really felt that certain industries would, hire a guy over a girl, and, you know, or they would be looking for a particular looking woman. And so beauty, I think that I'm going to say, I think I fit into that.
Yeah, you definitely
into that category. It's it's mainly women.
Yeah.
And so that was like a big part of when I thought about it, because I just wasn't willing to, I guess, play the hard game again. I wasn't willing to be the only woman in the room again like I was in corporate.
Yeah, wow.
It's a hard slog, and I didn't want to play that game. So I guess that's something that, you know, if you are looking at your business, like look at, you know, do you fit in? Like, is it easy for you, or are you going to put yourself up against a hard slog towards where you're going, or is it going to be easy for you energetically? So
I think that's I think the way that you thought of yourself as a brand, and I think that's really difficult for people if they're looking to go be that face of a brand for themselves or a freelancer. I think that's really important, because you're completely right. In the same way you look at a business clinically and you look at, okay, well, what are the unique factors of a business? What does it look like? What's the logo like? Who's it going to fit? Right, you did that for yourself, which I think is so important. And to be honest, it's just smart. It's just smart moves. Like you're just looking at it in business and you're like, okay, well, who's gonna like what makes me unique to anyone else in the industry? Okay, so then how did you get your first beauty clients?
So this is where this is all the same marketing that I've used over and over and over again in my business, which is just getting myself out there online.
Yep.
Nowadays I'm actually on a lot more social platforms than I was at the beginning, but it's the same same strategies that I've been running over and over and over again. And look, I know that, the organic market got a little bit crowded, and I know that a lot of people started doing it in a not so nice way, and it was just like all of a sudden our inboxes were just full of just spam.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not how I market. I market through that genuine connection. And I really want to get to know their businesses and understand them before I even have a chat to them or speak to them. I need to know that people are actually, one, they've got a business that's running and they're not in startup, and that they actually need the skills and I can actually help them.
Yeah.
Like this skill set will actually grow their business, because I want to see the growth in the business. So if I think of one of my clients that I've been working with now for about, I'd say 7 months, like when we started out, they were just doing everything for anyone. And little jobs, like just little bits and pieces, and just there's no real plan there. And we had to actually step back and put plans in place. We had to put the infrastructure in place. We had to get things organised in the background. And now we've got two more team members on board.
Wow.
And we're doing a lot more bigger name sort of clients, which is good. So I think a couple of weeks ago, they did, I think it was about 4 weeks ago, they did a job for Dior.
Wow.
And
That's
so now
incredible.
That's unreal.
Yeah, and some of the runway shows as well. So it was just going from the small game, but having a big plan, but being willing to go, okay, we have to slow down to speed up, because they couldn't just keep on going doing the same thing, because they were actually thinking, how do we grow? Because it's moving so fast as it is. But we had to slow that down and go, you know what, palm some stuff off.
Yeah.
Stop some things to be able to focus on, okay, what do we need to grow? What infrastructure do we need to put in place? What systems do we need in place? Who do we need to actually make contact with, build relationships with, to be able to do this? And they've done it all organically as well, which is really
Incredible.
Really incredible. And so it's amazing what you can do just with building relationships and connection. And I think we forget about that genuine connection.
Absolutely.
Like there's a lot of like just, hey, do you want my service? It's
Yeah.
build a genuine connection with people, get to know their business. And, if they want to work with me and I want to work with them, like great, fantastic. If not, maybe in the future.
Yeah. And you're right. It's not about necessarily, like I think a lot of vanity metrics are around, especially in say in coaching and anything to do with like Instagram, like how many followers have you got? How big's your community? How this? But I think it's more important to have a smaller community that are your people, and not everyone's going to be everyone's people, and that is so fine. But people might not like the way that, people speak to. It's like when we interview people and we say, what management style do you react the best with? And that's because we have to ask that, because some managers aren't going to go well with other people, and that's just that's life.
Yeah.
But it's the same with your business and your community. You don't want to be building a community full of people that don't like your communication style, they don't like your product, they don't really get along. Like those genuine connections. It's almost like thinking of social media the same way you would about making friends or talking to people. Would you have a coffee with these people that you're welcoming into your community? And I think that's really important, and something that I probably don't think of as much when you're relating it to social media, because it can be quite, vanity.
Yeah.
Like the followers and how many have you got this and how much have you got this? It doesn't matter.
It's easy to get caught up in it. Like we've been working in, I guess, that industry for like nearly 10 years now. And
from a product sense,
Yeah.
not a person sense. So that's why it's really
it's
new.
a
This is all new.
different,
Yeah.
like, world. And I think it's like in the coaching space in particular, it is so much about that relationship and I guess leaning in to who you are as a person and how you build that dynamic between your client for a business perspective, yes, but also on that personal level. And I think that bears repeating, that it isn't about being all things to all people. It's about carving out a community that you're going to be able to connect with, because that way when you do tap into it and you do go to market in that space about saying, I'm willing to help you, I'm willing to reach out and be able to kind of work with you in this business, it's genuine instead of being something that is just sell.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, there's plenty of people who've built their and they've done quite well with the sell. But usually they're the people I see in the industry and they rise up to the top. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah. And then they crash. Like all of a sudden their business is gone. It's like, where did they go? Are they doing something else now? Like it's just the more genuine connections. I think that's going to stand the test of time, and that's what you want to create in your business. You're not, you're creating for longevity. You're creating for the life that you want to build. And often when I'm working with clients, that they're creating for some wealth that they want to build for their family and themselves. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm the same with my business. I look at it long term. Like I want to make sure that all my kids are my kids are at private school. Johnny's kids are at the local school. It's a choice.
Yeah, of course, and that's a choice.
But to make sure I can give them what I want to give them. And also build a life for Johnny and I and do all of our projects that we're doing. So, yeah.
And whilst giving back as well. And I think that's the important thing, regardless of where you are in your career, it's choosing something that fills up your cup and gives you that purpose.
Yeah,
like when you talk about your clients, like you can just tell that you get excited and you want them to win, and that's it. And that fills up your cup, because every single time you're talking to someone, it's like, this is good. But to the same point, if they're not the right person for you, you're then spending an hour or however much time on these calls getting drained, getting drained. And that's not, you've got to be really, I'm learning from talking to people who are in that freelance position where they're working for themselves, they're running their own business, they're their own boss. It's your time is the most valuable commodity, and you've got to protect it at all costs, because there are people that don't necessarily respect that, especially when it's your time in a service-based business. Who said, like, we've never worked in one, I've never even seen it. So I'm learning so much from other people, because it's different to just products where it's very like,
you're pushing,
buy my product or leave.
Literally buy or die. But
which you would have experienced with the t-shirt business.
Yes. And so I think that you've spoken to like the journey and I guess the struggles that you had, kind of getting into this field. But now you're in coaching, you're having this amazing experience, you're building up this community network. Has there been like a real struggle that you've had to overcome, I guess, during this new phase of your business and your work life?
There is always a struggle, okay? Like there is always something that you're going to come up against. And I feel like, especially, when you're running your own business, there's always these ups and downs. There's always something new that comes up, or you think, oh gosh, I'll try this new method of marketing, or I'll try this new thing. And so there's always ups and downs. I think the most recent thing that I've done in the business is I've actually rearranged everything in the business to suit me more. So like I've been brave enough to go, okay, well look, I'm working too much. This doesn't suit me. I want to rearrange things and move clients to certain days and move different batching to different days, and just really take more control of my time. But yeah, there's always these ups and downs, and I think it's just you staying really present with yourself and also not reacting in such a huge way. And I think, early on in my journey, I would have these massive reactions up and down, and you just can't do that from an energetic space. You'll just attract all the wrong things into your life. So you need to have this balanced, otherwise you're going to have your income going up and down as well. So, you really want to have that balance when those things do come up, just to go, okay, well, look, I know that, shit's going to happen, bad stuff is going to happen in the business, and I'm just going to have to move through this. And anything I can figure out, like I'll just find a way, someone will pop into my life, or I'll figure it out. It's okay. In this moment, I'm okay. And just keeping that level head. And I think in all those moments, I just think back to my leadership skills, and I think back to my, my favorite leaders and my favorite business owners, and just they seem chilled. They seem calm, right?
Yeah. They're not the erratic, like I know what you're saying about the thing. Do you have any tips on how to get that balance?
For me, like, I think it's different for everyone.
Of course.
But definitely for me, a big part of my life is meditation. I don't really get out of bed until I've taken control of this mind first. So, I am really aware of, what I'm focused on. in the beginning of the day and also at the end of the day. So I'm protecting that when I'm going to sleep, and I'm protecting that when I get up. That meditation is a big part of my day, and I close down to things that are not going to serve me. So, you know, I often don't know what's going on in the world, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I often will just block out. It's like a little kid with their hands over their ears going la la la, whatever. And I'm just replaying my little story where I'm going in my head over and over and over and over and over again in a mantra. So like that's how I've, I guess, done every kind of big jump in my life, that I've actually just switched down, gone a little bit more quiet to all the information in the world. And you were speaking about the gym before, you know, like you get all this information, and especially at the gym, like there's TVs like everywhere. There's music. I'll often just look at the floor because I'm like, I just need to do my gym routine. Like, just focus.
Yeah.
So staying focused in this world, I think, is so hard. You know, especially if you just pick up your phone, you're looking at Instagram or you're looking at TikTok, and it's just like you just get these hits of everything. And so it's good to switch that off and just focus on what you are going for, and just know that you'll get there. Like if you focus on it, you'll find a way.
Yeah. That's a really, really, really good piece of advice. I think it's the lack of focus is the thing that kind of creates that clarity, and it's the goals. You're going to have chaos in your life regardless, but it's quite nice to have those goals and those mantras that you kind of go back to.
Yeah, you want to kind of like quiet your monkey mind a little bit more, because when you have that centering for yourself. I think you're able to move forward and really focus on what's important in your life and your day. And I really resonate with the idea of sometimes you do need to shut off from the world a bit. Like even if it, like, yes, the news and like being part of the world is important, but sometimes it just causes unnecessary anxiety and angst in your life, that if you're kind of deciding that you're going to just funnel things out a little bit, put on your blinkers and focus in on what's going to make a difference positively for you. That's really how you can kind of grow it and get to the next stage of, and really chase down your goals and your dreams.
Yeah, and it's not head in the sand, because if you're continuing to build yourself up, you're doing more for people and more for the world's problems than by surrounding yourselves with all this anxiety and being able to give back one day. I know when the business that we worked in, you know, hit its absolute milestone revenue, we then decided to partner with a charity partner, so that every single time we would send out a hamper, we would then give a meal to a child in need. And that we were able to almost like 1 million meals by the end of it. So, you know, for us, yes, you know, there's that head in the sand, but I can completely respect, like we had to go into focus mode, because in the long run we were able to give back more because we had that focus and we were able to turn off. So it's not head in the sand. There's so much more power that you can have by doing that, I believe anyway.
Definitely. Well, Paula, thank you so much for today. We've absolutely loved having you on. You've been such an inspirational person to be able to chat through. Seriously.
I just want to be like typing down notes, but I know this is all
recorded. But it's been like our own personal little coaching session with you today, and I feel like I've gotten so much out of it, and I'm sure Tash feels the same. So thank you so much for being on here today.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll pop all of your details into our show notes. We'll be posting all over Instagram when we launch the episode. But thank you so much, and we will be in your ears next week.
We'll see you then.
Bye.